Hey, what is up guys, Nick2025 here, back with another Epic Gamer video, and today's video is going to be a little different, but it's also going to be very similar to my other ones, where we just sit down and discuss everything about Call of Duty and what's going on. But today specifically, we are going to be talking about the Black Ops 7 negativity and everything surrounding what's been going on, because I want to break down, is it fair to judge Black Ops 7? Is it fair to give it its constructive criticisms and negativity? And we are just going to be seeing both sides of the coin, because we are also going to be talking about Battlefield 6 here. Now, I want to get a few things out of the way. I am a Call of Duty player at heart. I always have been. I've never been big on Battlefield, but we are going to try to not be biased while also being biased, if that makes any sense. Because, again, like I said, I'm a very big Call of Duty player, not a big Battlefield player, but I do think that both sides have very good arguments, and I also think that both sides have very bad arguments. So let's just get straight into it and see where we go from there. So the first thing I want to talk about is, in general, what does, from this trailer that I am playing in the background, does Black Ops 7 look that bad? Honestly, no. It looks like every other COD game, but it looks good. It looks like a perfect BO2 sequel, in my opinion. I think that what they're doing with a BO2 sequel is kind of ballsy, especially in this day and age, and it's 2025, so it makes perfect sense to make a Black Ops 2 sequel in this year, but people are not loving it for some reason. People have asked for years upon years for a Black Ops 2 sequel, and even at COD's worst, everyone will still should be there for a Black Ops 2 sequel, but they aren't, and now we are going to find out why. Because there's a lot of things about Black Ops 7 that are good, but there's also a lot of it that is bad. So it really makes you wonder, why. That's pretty much what we're going to be diving into today. We're just going to be talking about why this is happening and what Call of Duty should do, and what fans should do to fix everything, and just be complete together. So, yeah, first off, I will say that, again, Black Ops 7 does look pretty neat in terms of just that trailer alone. Some people have been saying that it doesn't look like it doesn't look like Call of Duty because it is too futuristic and it just looks goofy. Now, keep in mind that Call of Duty has and always has been, just in general, an arcade shooter. I'm going to make this very clear because some people keep forgetting that. Call of Duty has always been an arcade-style military shooter. Battlefield 6, on the other hand, is a military shooter, period. That is it. Some people forget that Call of Duty looks the way it does and feels the way it does because it feels like an arcade shooter. That's why no other game has even come close to replicating what Call of Duty has done. Example, X-Defiant and Splitgate, just to name a couple. They are not able to replicate the movement and anything that COD's done because their style is so unique, and they always try to do something different from COD, but also try to take from COD. And that's fair. COD is a big thing to take down, and there has not been a game to do that, except for one instance, and we're going to go back in time to 2016. 2016 also had a very similar situation with a lot of hate on its Call of Duty game, but with Battlefield on the horizon of being good. It has happened before, and it is happening this year. But we are going back to 2016 to talk about Infinite Warfare, because in Infinite Warfare, when that released, people were tired of the future Call of Duty argument. People were not happy that Infinite Warfare was another futuristic game, and it looked like Black Ops 3, but worse. After Black Ops 3, it seems like people were really tired and they missed boots on the ground. But Infinite Warfare was quite the opposite, and has, I believe, the most disliked video in gaming history, as well the most disliked video in Call of Duty history. I think it has like 4 million dislikes, I believe. So it is not a very well received game. And Battlefield 1 at the time released back in 2016, or was releasing back in 2016. And they have been the only game that has been close enough to dethrone COD of its king title in the FPS genre. Now, like I said, Battlefield and Call of Duty are two very different games. They play very differently from each other because, again, one is an arcade shooter, one is a military shooter. So when you compare these games, you can see why people would compare it because of the gunplay or the movement, the way that things work. But for the most part, the games are very different and are polar opposites essentially. Like you can't really put them together because Call of Duty has always had its different style and Battlefield has always been, grounded to reality, and they've tried a few things to rival COD, like they went back in time, they went forward in time. They've tried several different things just like Call of Duty did. Everyone has done it. Titanfall did it. I mean, it's one of those things that you can only do so much with an arcade shooter or just a military shooter in general. There's only so many things you can do before you start running out of ideas. And Call of Duty has done that a few times, which is why we're probably circling back to the idea of futuristic stuff. But the fact that people are saying that they don't like Black Ops 7 for the reason that it's futuristic and it doesn't look good makes no sense, because even literally 10 years ago, Black Ops 3, before that we had Advanced Warfare and then we had Infinite Warfare. COD has looked like this before. And whether it's been well received or not shouldn't be out of the question, because, they say it doesn't look like COD anymore, but that is what COD used to look like. And so when people say that, it really throws me off and it confuses me, and I'm sure it confuses a lot of people. But it just makes no sense when I see these comments, because COD has been like that before. So when you say that Black Ops 7 looks too futuristic and doesn't look like Call of Duty anymore, it kind of makes no sense. So I don't understand. But yeah, so you're probably wondering, well, if Battlefield 6 was, or Battlefield in general, was the closest game to dethrone COD, because Infinite Warfare was so not well received that they didn't know what to do. COD seemed like they were in a bit of a pickle. So what did they do to win against Battlefield? Because they got more sales than Battlefield, even though Infinite Warfare did not look good and was not good for most people. They paired it with COD 4 Remastered, or Modern Warfare Remastered, however you want to look at it. And they updated the game frequently. They added DLCs and new things alongside of Infinite Warfare. So they probably made a buttload of money. I'm just going to say that now. 2016 was probably a gold mine for Infinity Ward. So, there's that situation. But they paired it with that, and every time you bought Infinite Warfare, you would be paired with COD 4 or Modern Warfare Remastered, however you want to look at it. And people enjoyed that more than Infinite Warfare. And that's how they ended up getting more sales in Battlefield. And, Battlefield was close, but they couldn't compete with those sales, and they couldn't compete with it because Call of Duty, as they've said, which I will point out is a little weird to say as a big company who's already under fire. They said, and I quote, "We are too big to fail." So they are not worried about Battlefield 6. And I think that comment is what stems from the hatred of Black Ops 7 this year. Because they wanted to prove that they are too big to fail. But everyone in these comments, while some of them are giving constructive criticisms over COD and saying why they quit, why they don't want to play Black Ops 7, that is all fair. That is great. I love to see that, because maybe in the future, if you say enough of that, they will change it. Maybe not, but who knows? It's a good start. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of the doom posting that goes on is because of that comment alone. They thought that they are too big to fail, and they are sitting up there in their HQ. They're sitting up there cocky as hell because they think that they are too big to fail. And I think that quote is part of the reason why Black Ops 7 is getting so much hate. Because when you're already in a bad state and you say something like that, people are going to trash you. People were already trashing Activision for being the way they were and putting an impact on what Call of Duty is now. But when you say something like that, that's where, you kind of lose a lot of people, including your own fan base, because that is just a really weird thing to say as a studio. So I think a lot of the hate does come from that comment, and I think that all the doom posting comments are proving that they can in fact possibly fail this year, or at least lose more sales than ever before, because they are too cocky and they think that it's impossible for them to fall even after 20, I think 23 years of Call of Duty. It's yeah, you just don't go around saying that. It's not a good thing on your brand. It never is. So I think that's where a lot of the doom posting comes from, and I think that's where a lot of the negatives come from, because I think the fans of both Battlefield and Call of Duty are trying to prove them wrong and trying to make them scared. And making them scared is a good thing on some level, because that means they will try in the future to improve. Because, if Battlefield 6 can come really close to beating, Black Ops 7, then Call of Duty should finally wake up and start doing changes. Now, the good news is about Black Ops 7 is that it is starting to sound like a really good COD game. There's a lot of updates from MW3 that are transferring over, like weekly challenges. So back in MW3 for, every single season, it was so great. Every week we would get a new set of challenges, and those challenges would either give us a cool camo, or they would give us a weapon attachment that would change the weapon completely, like turn a sniper into a shotgun, or an AR into an SMG, sometimes a pistol into like a full-on SMG that has rotated into the meta of Warzone. So it's stuff like that that is really great news to hear for Black Ops 7, and I love that the fact that they're doing that, and everything progression-wise and all that sounds amazing. Classic Prestige is back, 1666 maps, the old Zombies crew is back. There is something for everyone. There is a camo grind in every single mode. There is a lot of positives about Black Ops 7, which really makes you wonder why it was getting hate in the first place if it's got so many positive changes. Well, it's just like, it's just like COD. It's just COD, all right? Because COD has known to have situations. Even with how good MW3 was, there was a few instances where some felt lacking in content. Like, for example, Warzone felt like it really got all the content. Like, multiplayer got a lot of content, don't get me wrong. But Warzone really felt like the golden child for MW3, and you could tell where they really put their budget into, because Zombies, for example, really got nothing. And even though it was a side mode and it didn't have too much to offer anyway, it still was disappointing to see the fact that it was still disappointing to see that, some things were getting more areas. And I believe with this year, it seems like we're getting all around everything. It seems like Zombies is getting a lot of stuff. We're getting survival maps coming back. Dead Ops Arcade 4 is coming back. We are getting a crazy amount of content for Zombies. Multiplayer, like I said, we're getting a Mastery camo. We're getting Classic Prestige back. We are getting weekly challenges again. Like, it seems good for multiplayer, and all the maps coming back. Probably going to have a ton of modes too. It just seems like a good year for everything. And even the campaign. The campaign's not some open world bullcrap. It is a full linear story, which is exactly what COD has always been. And the open world thing, it didn't really catch on for most people. I think the Warzone-ification is what people call it. I think that really took over the campaign for them, and making everything open world where you can jetpack, or not jetpack, but glide and do all that fun stuff. I think it really took over and kind of poisoned campaign and just Call of Duty in general. But it seems this year, like, this one feels like a return to format in terms of games. Sure, it's still on the modern engine, and it still, feels like a modern COD game, but at least with this, that we know that there's going to be a lot of good compared to the negatives. We don't know how the negatives are, because we don't know about, like, cheaters, for example. We don't know how they're going to do weapon tuning. We don't know what they're going to do future content-wise in terms of how they're going to balance these things, because usually at the beginning of a COD game, it's pretty balanced, it's pretty good. But then when Season 1 rolls around, that's when bugs and issues start coming up, and that's when it becomes a problem. And then that's when we start getting into this COD cycle, because people start saying, well, these updates aren't very good, and I don't like it, but, I do miss the old game, even though I trashed on it all year. It happens every single time. And as of right now, I'm talking about Black Ops 7, and my last video that I posted was about Black Ops 6. So it happens with the COD cycle every single year, all the time. Whether you want to admit it or not. I don't want to admit it, but I'm admitting it here. it's funny. It's just funny how the COD cycle works and how it also, how it always does that to us. But I do want to take a second to talk about Battlefield 6 here and talk about the things that have been going on with the Doom posting and the actual constructive criticisms, because a lot of it is not just COD players being tired of it. A lot of it is also Battlefield 6 players kind of getting out of hand in terms of what they're saying. If you go to the Black Ops 7 reveal trailer, there is a comment that says, "This makes me want to pre-order Battlefield 6," or some people are saying, "Man, this is a great trailer for pre-ordering Battlefield 6," and so on and so forth, which is just weird in of itself for comments, by the way. But some of those comments have more likes than the actual Call of Duty video of the reveal trailer, which is absolutely insane. Now, the thing is, when you're a Battlefield player and you're talking bad about Call of Duty, and then a Call of Duty player talks bad about Battlefield 6 and actually gives it valid constructive criticisms, unlike some Battlefield 6 players, for some reason, you're just not allowed to do that. Like, Battlefield 6 players can hate on Black Ops 7 and anything Call of Duty related, but when it comes to the other way around of Black Ops 7 players trying to give constructive criticism and valid arguments against why Battlefield 6 isn't good, they seem to take that in the wrong way. COD fans are toxic. I would say I'm toxic because I don't like when games get trashed. I don't like when the game that I'm personally enjoying gets trashed. So of course I'm going to defend it, but of course I'm going to be a little toxic on the way there. But you just for some reason can't give any valid criticism towards Battlefield 6, and it makes absolutely no sense because they've been doing that for years. Battlefield 6 players. And I don't understand where this really resurgence of Battlefield 6 fans have come along. And I think obviously, sure, it is a perfect time for Battlefield 6 to take its place as a good FPS in the scene and take over COD for once. I think that's fine and all, but at the same time, do people just not remember that 2042 was not well received a couple years ago? The way that I usually look at these things is Battlefield is just like Call of Duty in the sense that you buy it every time and you get disappointed. But instead of every single year, like Call of Duty, it's every 4 to 5 years, roughly, for Battlefield 6. So, because people were waiting for the next Battlefield game, I remember, for years. And then when 2042 came along, people were not happy with the reception. And it was so bad, in fact, that for some reason, Vanguard, yes, Vanguard, was more well received than Battlefield 2042. So it doesn't really make any sense, in my opinion. I don't know if people just forgot that the game is made by EA, and I think that DICE, I believe, is working on it and working on future updates for the game. So I think it might be a little different in terms of how they're going to handle things going forward, but it's still the point that, EA still has full control over everything. So in terms of post-launch and future content and whether they want to fix things or not, it seems like we'll just have to find out. I know that after the beta was done for Battlefield 6, they nerfed a little bit of the movement. Some people called it fixing it, but all they did was slow down everything and make the sliding a little more choppy, which I can see they're trying to not make it like COD, but when COD tried doing that and slowing down movement, slides and everything, that was a really bad stain on their life, because MW2 was absolutely atrocious in terms of that. So, with Battlefield 6, I just wanted to call that out, the fact that you cannot give constructive criticism to any Battlefield 6 player if you're a Call of Duty fan. And I think it should work vice versa, because if you're going to talk crap about Black Ops 7, then at least let me say something to you, because constructive criticism is good for both sides of the coin here. And it just frustrates me that we are not even giving Black Ops 7 a chance, but we are absolutely hating on it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So there's all that out of the way, and I think there's a few other things I do want to talk about Battlefield 6, because Battlefield 6, in terms of the beta from what I played, is a very good game, but I think it is very overhyped. And I know that, coming from a COD player, it's kind of, it's kind of dumb to say. But I do think that people are overhyping it a bit, and there is a lot of reports going on right now that, believe it or not, Battlefield 6 is paying its creators to promote the game, play the game, stream the game, and talk everything about the game. And some people choose not to believe that. And also, when people say that Call of Duty is paying their creators, a lot of those creators have stepped forward and say that they don't really pay for much. It's only sometimes that they pay for it if they're in a bad spot and probably aren't confident about the game. But with Black Ops 7, they so far have not paid for anything. The only thing that they're paying for is hotel and utilities and stuff like that. Like, just the way to get there. But they are not paying them to say anything nice or, keep it from saying unnegative things about Black Ops 7. So when people say, like, that's another point I want to bring up, and that's why I'm talking about this, is because for some reason, if any creator, and possibly me, because I'm talking positive about Black Ops 7 in here, if you talk anything good about Black Ops 7, for some reason you are called a paid shill by Battlefield 6 fans, or just people in general, for just enjoying a game that looks pretty good and sounds pretty good for the most part, and you get called being paid by Activision. But apparently that's not even the case. There's no one being paid by Activision right now, and the only thing that they are getting paid for is to just be there. And that's it. They're not, being paid to talk about the game and, say all that. They're just being paid to be there. So it's not even like a matter of I'm getting paid to say this and this about Black Ops 7. You're just not getting paid at all for that. It's so it makes no sense. And I think that calling people that they're paid shills it's just a very weird argument, because if you call a Battlefield 6 player a paid shill for saying that it's good, again, it's more toxic on the receiving end that you're a Black Ops 7 fan or just a Black Ops fan in general, Call of Duty, stuff like that. It's worse on your end than it ever was, because you could be arguing with another COD fanboy, and it's worse to receive it from a Battlefield 6 player. I don't know. It's a little weird to talk about, and I don't understand. I see where most of the hate comes from. In terms of Battlefield 6, in terms of Black Ops 7, I understand from both sides of the coin that there is a lot of good and a lot of bad, but some people will not accept that on either side. And that is kind of why I just wanted to talk about it, because it's not really justified, I think, in the case that, like, the game, like Black Ops 7, seems like a really good game. And to hate on it for no reason when we don't even have a beta out is kind of unfair. And I know that Call of Duty should be paid for their punishments of, like, doing all these wacky collabs and doing everything wrong with the game right now. I do think that they should at least acknowledge that and say, hey, here's a skin filter or something for carry forward. But they probably won't. But at the same time, we all hope they do. And it would make, it would just be weird if Call of Duty pretty much ended their streak of being king, all because of some silly little things. It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? And I know I'm kind of running out of things to ramble here at the end of the video, but, I've pretty much gotten things off of my chest that I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to talk about the fact that some of the hate comes from this, and this, and why and how you should receive it is up to you completely. And whether you buy Battlefield 6 or whether you buy Black Ops 7, either way is good, because they both seem like pretty promising games. Maybe try the beta out before you pre-order. That's what most people say, because, don't waste money on a game that you're not going to play, and so on and so forth. But I do think that both games seem promising, and the fact that some people say you cannot enjoy one over the other, or the fact that you cannot enjoy both at the same time, is hilarious. I don't know why people do that. I don't know why people, like, give you crap for it. But it is pretty funny, to be honest, to see that, like, online. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the general basis of what I wanted to talk about. You don't have to let my opinion, deteriorate from yours or anything. I think that you are valid to make your own opinions. And to anyone who watches this video in full and hears me rambling, even if it's good or bad, I appreciate you for sticking around till the end of the video. But I think that you should form your own opinion, and if you want to take mine, then that's perfectly fine. Be on both sides of the coin, look at both arguments, and then make your decision from there. That is all I can really give you. So other than that, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. There's probably a couple other things, but I'm most likely going to make a video talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly for Black Ops 7. Might make that the title too. But that's pretty much all I wanted to touch base on, and honestly, like I said, I'll probably make another video talking more about it, maybe when the beta comes out, so then we can actually talk about it. But yeah, for the most part, I think that's pretty much it, and I'm really dragging this on, just like low taper fade meme of Ninja. So, without further ado, thank you for watching, and honestly, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you when Black Ops 7 comes around, and see you when Battlefield 6 comes around, and we'll form our opinions based on what we see and what we play. So, I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out.
Got the cow pokes and we're riding off into the sunset. These flybites are close to smaller than the one. I bet.